The Voyage Journal, from Ezion-Geber to Ophir. Chapter 1. Preparations in Ezion-Geber. Before our arrival, Ezion-Geber was a sleepy frontier town. Life moved slowly. A few fishermen, wandering traders, barefoot children by the sea. But with our arrival, everything changed. Spears clashed, shouts echoed, axes and hammers rang as if the quiet village had become the kingdom's beating heart. The sense of craft and life. The air was saturated with the smell of hot pitch boiling in enormous cauldrons, mixed with the fragrance of fresh cedar wood brought from Tyre. The scent of molten metal from the workshops mingled with the aroma of dried fish, workers' sweat, and smoke from fires that burned continuously. At sunsets, when the wind blew from the sea, came the pure salt smell that mixed with exotic spices from the camel caravans. Sounds of construction. At dawn, we always heard the same sequence. The overseer's shout, "Rise, the sun climbs," followed immediately by the sounds of hammers first solitary, then like a full chorus. The axe creaking through wood, the nail piercing, workers shouting instructions in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Phoenician. At midday, when the heat became unbearable, the sounds faded to whispers only, the saw's rasp, and the sound of water poured on burning wood. Market stalls multiplied. Traders from the desert arrived with camels loaded with spices, ropes, and hides. Even the people of Elath came weakly curious and awed. Ezion-Geber became the hum of a whole kingdom, all tuned toward one voyage. Phoenician shipbuilding. Detailed description. The keel was hewn from select cedar wood, 30 cubits in length and 2 in width. The Phoenicians from Tyre brought with them ancient knowledge, beginning construction from the keel upward, not from the sides inward as we had thought. They treated the wood with olive oil aged in inflated skins, which penetrated the wood fibers and prevented cracking. Construction stages. 1. Keel planning. Precise measurement using marked rope. Alignment by planetary stars. 2. Rib shaping. 24 ribs of oak wood, each rounded by fire and bent in hot water. 3. Hull assembly. Cedar planks a cubit thick, fitted with angled joints. 4. Pitch sealing. Pitch heated with pine resin and fish oil, the smell sharp and choking. 5. Mast installation. From tall pine wood, reinforced with double flax ropes. 6. Sails. Woven from flax and goat hair, reinforced with leather strips. Food preservation for long voyages. Food was our main concern. We prepared several types of dried and preserved food. Hard bread, traveler's bread, select wheat flour, mixed with sea salt, refined aged honey, and olive oil. The dough was kneaded without water, only with eggs and concentrated wine. The Hebrew baker taught us, bread baked twice, once in the oven, once in the sun, will last a full year. Traveler's bread recipe for home use. 3 cups whole wheat flour, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 tablespoons honey, 3 tablespoons olive oil, 1 egg, 1 2-cup red wine or grape juice. Knead together, roll thin. Bake at low heat for an hour and a half, then dry in the sun for 2 additional days. Roasted lentils. Roasted over fire with salt and spices until they became hard as stone. Smoked fish. Hung over olive wood fires that burned for 3 days. Dried goat cheese. Hard cheese balls, wrapped in grape leaves and preserved in oil. Chapter 2. Along the Arabian shore. We set sail on the 3rd day of Adar month. The southern wind was with us, and the sea calm. We advanced along the Arabian shorelines, following familiar reefs and marked stones carved into headlands. At night, navigation relied on the stars, Orion, the Pleiades, Venus, the senses of the sea. The sea tasted of salt and smelled of seaweed. In deep waters, the scent changeless, salty, more metallic and sharp. The sail whispered gently in good wind, but in small storms, the ropes shrieked and screamed. At night, Mysterious sounds came from the depths, whales, perhaps, or sea spirits. On the 16th day, we approached the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a narrow corridor of 8 parasangs between the Arabian coast and the land of Sheba. We moved cautiously, in a staggered formation with partial sails, keeping the ships at a measured distance from one another. Lookouts were doubled. Crossing the strait took nearly 4 hours. Beyond it, the sea deepened, becoming darker and heavier. Southern winds clashed with eastern currents, forming sudden eddies. Some of the crew grew dizzy. Others vomited. Watch shifts were shortened, and food and water rationed. Chapter 3. Hadramaut Anchor Point. Hadramaut. After crossing the Bab el-Mandeb, we anchored near a coast known to the Phoenicians as Hazirmaut, likely a shore near modern-day northern Yemen. The place seemed deserted, but thin smoke in the hills hinted at a distant settlement. We sent an armed scouting party, 3 crewmen, and 1 Egyptian translator to check if fresh water or food was available. They returned after 4 hours, accompanied by 5 locals. Local culture. Their language was foreign to us, but their gestures clear. Peace and trade. One man, wrapped in a coarse brown robe, approached with careful steps and placed a piece of hardened resin on a flat stone as an offering. We responded with copper beads. Soon others arrived, some armed but calm and composed. Their society was tribal, structured around clan leaders. Their dwelling style, narrow towers made of mud brick, resembled the multi-story homes of Shibam, their inland city. Their economy was based on desert agriculture, the trade of frankincense and spices, and caravan routes between the interior and the coast. Spiritual experience among the tribe. That evening, we heard rhythmic drumming and chanting, the Dan, they called it. The beat was hypnotic, and the singing circular trance-like. Women clapped in unison, and the men responded with foot stomps and hand drums. It seemed the hills themselves were breathing with music. Within this mesmerizing music, something in my soul changed. The sounds became a unique prayer, as if our God and their gods were speaking to each other in the same ancient language of music. This was the moment I began to feel that the world was larger than anything I had been taught in Jerusalem. We traded baskets of lentils and dried fish for water jars, dates, and fragrant resin. Our cook ground the resin with herbs into a bitter broth to mask the tar smell that clung to our throats. Chapter 4. Toward Ophir. The voyage southward resumed with determination. The Red Sea narrowed, bordered by cliffs on either side. We sailed for several days, along unfamiliar coves and steep rock faces where birds shrieked overhead. One afternoon, a sudden fever struck the crew of Shalva. A dozen men developed chills, high temperatures, and confusion. We believed it was from tainted water taken from a remote inlet. We isolated the ill, burned the leftover food, and chanted prayers on deck at twilight. After 5 days, 3 men had died. Their bodies were wrapped in sailcloth and cast into the sea after final blessings. We lowered our flags and beat the hulls with sticks in Morninga Phoenician custom. Changes in my faith. During these nights of illness and death, sitting by the dying men, I began to question the certainties I had grown up with. Why did our God allow good men to die so far from home? Was there meaning in their deaths, or was it simply the harsh reality of the world? These questions would follow me all the way to Ophir. On the 12th day of Iyar, a sailor on the Nome shouted from the mast, "Land ahead broad, green and terraced." We had reached Ophir. Chapter 5. Landfall in Ophir. The harbor was unlike any we had seen, calm, tree-ringed, with wide terraces stretching up from the shore. Men and women dressed in bright fabrics stood watching. Their faces were painted in vibrant colors, and they held woven fans, curious but calm. The local ruler appeared, a tall man with black hair tied in braids, a gold band across his chest, and 5 rings on each hand. He approached barefoot, accompanied by drummers and incense bearers. We greeted him with bows and gestures of peace. He responded with a solemn nod. The culture of Ophir, ancient India. Social structure. Society was divided into distinct castes: priests, Brahmins, warriors, kshatriyas, merchants, vaishyas, and artisans, shudras. The ruler we met was likely from the warrior caste, but with strong connections to the merchant class. Religion and beliefs. They worshipped many gods: Indra the storm god, Surya the sun god, and Vishnu the protector. Their temples were magnificent, with complex stone sculptures and continuous melodies. The main temple was decorated with paintings of elephants and lotus flowers. Every morning and evening, incense of aromatic bark was burned, and the sweet smell spread throughout the city. Technology and crafts. They were skilled in bronze and steel work of a quality we had never seen. Their methods for purifying metal and casting tools were more advanced than ours. Their potters created delicate vessels, painted in colors that withstood time. In their silk weaving, they used threads as fine as human hair. Language and culture. Their language was foreign, though it bore soft echoes of tongues known to our Phoenician crew, perhaps Sanskrit or something akin to it. Through signs, shared meals, and a few bilingual traders, we learned bits of their customs. Sensory experiences in Ophir. Morning brought the scent of sweet incense from the temples, mixed with tropical flowers and coconut oil. The markets were full of vibrant colors and yellow spices, blue fabrics and crimson woods, fruits I had never seen: mangoes, coconuts, and tamarinds. The tastes were sharp and sweet together, sometimes burning from the ground pepper. The sounds were different from anything I knew: the continuous buzzing of large bees, elephant calls from the nearby forest, soft zither sounds, and deep drums. Even the silence was different, deep and full, not like the extreme quiet of the Israeli desert. Chapter 6. Among the people of Ophir. We were granted permission to disembark and settle on a grassy plain near the mouth of the harbor. Tents were pitched, and guards assigned in shifts. The people of Ophir's Länder, dark-eyed, draped in linen and gold, watched us from a respectful distance, but never with fear. They were skilled in bronze casting, pottery, and wood carving. In the evenings, they played flutes and zithers, danced in long processions under torchlight, and offered incense to their gods at shrines carved into the hillsides. Jonathan, a sailor from Tyre, fell in love with a local woman. Her name sounded like Asha. He later chose to remain behind, saying, "Gold may fill the king's coffers, but my soul has found its harbor." Our trade was fruitful. We loaded precious cargo: gold dust sealed in waxed pouches, blue stones that shimmered in the sun, exotic woods scented with cinnamon and myrrh. A final feast was held. Rooster was roasted over open flame, and fermented honey drink passed in clay cups. The ruler of Ophir gave each ship a parting gift: carved figures, incense, and silks dyed in deep red. Reflections on faith. During the nights in Ophir, sitting by the fire, I began to contemplate what I had seen. What a wonderful thing it is to surrender to the paths of the journey into the unknown. There are endless paths that stand before me, and on every path, creation reveals itself to me in an unexpected way. Faith is a necessary and practical matter for seafarers. Tomorrow we sail back. My journey to Jerusalem begins here, from distant Ophir. Goodbye.